Welcome back to Let's Play Mighty Switch Force 2, but before we continue on and we get into things, I want to mention something. I am recording this video, and I will be recording the last video a little differently than I've been recording them before. I have been using Audacity, as I previously stated in the last episode, for this entire series, and I said I would finish it up with that, but I've finally gotten to the point where I'm done with it, kind of. My computer's not really built to handle running Elgato and recording Elgato and Audacity at the same time. It puts a lot of strain on my computer, and it also turns out pretty poorly a lot of the time. So I've decided that I'm just done having to re-record things. I don't want to be overly negative, and I didn't really want to start this video off with this, but I just want to let you know if there are any weird audio glitches that are happening that are different than the ones that have been happening before. Guess what? I'm back on Elgato, baby. Oh, yeah. I love to try to put things into practice when people mention them to me. I did a criticism video a while back where I was like, give me criticism, what do I do wrong, what do I do right? And I heard that I should try using Audacity, and I got a way for it to work. I just didn't know it wouldn't work a majority of the time. So here I am, back again. I've also heard I complain about Elgato too much, so want to switch that up to Audacity? I can make it, I can just switch the program I'm complaining about all the time. But no, actually, it gets kind of annoying when I talk about that stuff all the time. So I'm gonna stop doing that, and I'm actually gonna have fun. So this level introduces something that's very, very cool. First of all, this is where the game really gets challenging. It was challenging before, but now it's really challenging. This area that I kind of went through right now is kind of just, it looks like a big mix of blocks that they just decided to throw into a box and swirl up a little bit. Make it look like a kind of a mess, you know? Hopefully that makes sense. And that was pretty easy to get through because it was kind of built for you to be able to easily flow through it. But later on we'll get stuff like that that will not flow super well. And that's not a negative thing I'm talking about, I'm more just saying it makes it more challenging. But anyway, on the far right of the screen you'll see there's a new type of block. Green colored blocks. For those of you who have played the first game, you'll know that green colored blocks were not in the first game. They weren't at all. And they still found ways to make the puzzles in Mighty Switch Force 1 extremely complicated with only two types of blocks. If you add pipes into the mix and now a third different color, puzzles are going to get very challenging. And there's actually an example, there's going to be, can I talk? Maybe, I don't know. There's going to be an example of that in the next level. You'll see it in this video, and I think this is done extremely well. I also, as someone who played Mighty Switch Force 1 before getting the Mighty Switch Force 2, which you don't have to play them in order, they are completely separate experiences, but if you want to, be my guest. Since I played Mighty Switch Force 1, and I only knew about the two colored blocks, when I got to Mighty Switch Force 2, and there was suddenly a third color, I kind of freaked out a little bit, because again, some of the challenges with the green or with the blue and red blocks only were hard, and now you have to focus on a green block as well. I was kind of scared, and there again are places where these are used in challenging ways, but I don't think they really take it to the point where it feels like it's really difficult. And this actually kind of builds on another idea that I've had in the back of my mind for a while now. Something that you may not have noticed, or something that you may have noticed is probably a better way of saying that because it's pretty obvious. There's a lot of flow when it comes to the puzzle solving of this game. You'll notice that I'm kind of breezing through these puzzles. Not because I've played this game before, though I'm sure that helps a little bit, but it's mostly because a lot of these puzzles are extremely intuitive and, you know, it still takes brain power to solve them. It just doesn't take, I don't know, like Zelda brain power where you have to actually think a whole lot to get things to work. I did not want you to be on the same plane as that, or I didn't want you to not be on the same plane as that block, green block. Oof. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. But, I don't know, I think that the flow of these puzzles, along with the flow of the platforming, they mix together to make a really fun experience, and I think I've already said that before, but I wanted to say it again, because even with the green block added in the mix, the puzzles still flow, they're still really fun. I don't know, maybe I'm a weirdo. Yeah, it's probably the case. But we finished up that level really quickly. Something I forgot to mention in the very beginning of this video because I was mentioning the whole other audio thing. I'm only going to be playing 2 levels in this episode. And there's a reason for that. First of all, these levels are getting more challenging and they are getting longer. They are just becoming, again, more challenging longer, so because they are more challenging and they are just longer inherently, it's going to take more time for me to finish up these levels. So I decided that the last 2 episodes I would kind of split them up and not make them one big episode where I solve 4 different, or where I do different levels, 4 different levels rather. I'm having the time of my life trying to speak. I don't know. I tried to record an episode before this and it didn't work out, and here I am a few hours later hoping that it's going to at least turn out somewhat well. We'll see. Who knows? This level is where green pipe blocks are introduced. This level is also where they are taken to their extreme. They assume that because they have given you a decent amount of time to understand the pipe block mechanic in general, the green pipe block mechanic should come to you relatively seamlessly, flawlessly, and yeah, that's a pretty good assumption to make because the pipe blocks that are green work exactly the same as every other pipe block. It's just now a little bit more intricacy added into the mix. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit more challenging. You'll notice that I'm having to platform on 2 different blocks, one of which is under the other, and they are different colors. If there are, let's say, 2 blocks like this stacked on top of each other, I cannot jump that high. I can't jump 2 blocks high. So what I have to do is make it so that these 2 blocks are on different planes so that I can platform up there. But this can also lead to an issue of this. Now I can't get up there because there are 2 blocks. It's kind of an interesting challenge, and I actually really do like it. It gets pretty tricky. It gets really tricky. This is kind of an easier section, I say as I'm gonna mess this up royally, but it's really not, it's not easy. That's what I'm trying to say. Just like speaking right now, it's not easy. So, I'm thinking, what I have to do, let me assess the situation before I start just messing with things like an idiot. So, I want the green block and the red block to be on different planes. I also want the red block and the blue block to be on the same plane. So what I have to do is make these 2 be on the same plane. First of all, I have to make the blue and green. Wait, hold on. Wait, no. This is not going to work. No, it is going to work. Good. I was a little bit scared. I was kind of frightened. What I wanted to do is make the green and the red block be on the blue and the red block rather be on the same plane, whereas the green block would be on a different plane, but it had to be relatively specific. It was kind of weird. Now, I was afraid of doing this puzzle before, until I realized that there was a very simple way of solving these puzzles. Keep in mind, you can fall down onto the lower areas, so if you get stuck when you are on one, I'm gonna call it like a Tetris-looking piece, though it's definitely not a Tetris-looking piece. When there are 2 blocks like this that can be locked into place, and you are standing right here and they are, you don't have another way of getting up, you're kind of stuck. Remember, you can fall down and switch the blocks that are down on the ground a little bit. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. It'll be shown off a little bit better later. I explained this a lot better first time I tried to record this. I don't know. I've heard that me being tired can be funny sometimes, and I'm going to hold you to that. Hopefully it does work out that way. Though sometimes I don't see it. I really don't. Alright, so I need to make the green block and the blue block be on the exact same area, exact same plane, rather. So I want the blue block to stay there, red block can get on this plane, there we go. That hopefully switched everything correctly, which it did, because I'm just that much of a smart boy. I'm not going to inflate myself and my ego that much, though, because trust me, in 5 seconds you're going to see me acting like an idiot, a fool. So, this is where this concept of switching blocks and having to platform on these 2 different very special types of blocks stacked on top of each other comes into play, and it gets a little bit more challenging. The reason for that being, we now have to worry about pipe blocks and their placement, while worrying about the fact that we may not be able to, if we alter things too much, we may not be able to make it up to the top. This is a really cool concept, and I love it a lot, and this is one of the main puzzles I was afraid of not being able to solve. I remember having extremely bad times with this, both in my practice recording for this series and just the first time I played the game in general. It gets tough. It really does. And this is just, I don't know, it's a perfect example of how interesting the puzzle platforming can get here. I'd say this is when it starts to slow down a bit. Not in a bad way, it's just that the puzzles start to get a little bit more tricky and you actually do have to take time and slow down. Kind of acting like there is Zelda puzzle. I'm doing this exact same thing over and over again. I'm being really, really dumb right now, and I apologize for that. What I want to do is this, not what I have been doing this entire time. So yeah, that puzzle is solved, luckily, somehow. But that can get really, really tricky, and you want to be very, very thoughtful about things. You don't want to fall down like I just did there, because that means you're going to have to solve the puzzles all over again. It can get pretty tricky, and especially if you don't know the whole you should probably drop down thing like that, then you're going to end up having a really bad time. The reason I say this is because I didn't know that until the failed recording that I just did, and trust me, I had a bad time. Kind of like this area makes me have, because you might think, well, you know, it's not too bad, you just have to spray these mud blocks. Until you realize there's an ugly secret baby up here that was obscured from your view, and you had no way of knowing that it was there. And you had to make platforms using these mud blocks that you wouldn't, you know, just think to do intuitively. It's that concept coming back, and I don't know, I wouldn't usually have a fit about it when it's in kind of a smaller, shorter, less difficult level. But when it comes to a level like this, where I genuinely have issues with the puzzles that are presented, and then you just decide to throw that at me, so I have to replay the level, I just think it's kind of dumb. I really don't enjoy it too much, and it's kind of one of the few ugly secret babies I kind of genuinely get mad about. Also, green spiky boys can be on walls, apparently, and also gates can be opened up using pinkies, which is something that I was unaware of until just recently, because, I don't know, I guess I just forgot. What I want to do here is make the red and the green be on two different... Oh, and make the blue and the red be on the same thing as well. I was not aware of that. I just kind of went with the flow and it happened. Great. But yeah, I don't know, it's usually not a big issue when it comes to shorter, easier levels, but when it comes to a level like this, which takes me 7 minutes when I know what I'm doing, I don't necessarily like it that much, and I can't even tolerate it. It's bad design. I think it genuinely is. But we have done the 2 levels that I needed to do in this video, but we're not done just yet. The reason I wanted to have a little bit of extra time at the end here is because I wanted to talk about a few things that I have not had the chance to talk about, and probably won't have the chance to talk about, so I wanted to get them out of the way right now. Patricia Wagons has a lot of voice clips that you probably hear whenever I jump into a level, and I'm going to play 2 of them that I really enjoyed right here, right now. The reason I wanted to play these specific voice clips is because, first of all, I think in context they're pretty funny. The health floppy disk-esque thing, when Patricia Wagon eats that, she says, yummy, which is pretty nice. I think it's just kind of funny, and it doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but who knows, maybe at the end of the game you might find out something a little bit crazy about Patricia Wagons that wasn't true before, that it was, you know, or was true before, you just didn't know about it before. I don't know how I'm trying to foreshadow to something, and my brain is just not cooperating with me. So, great. But there's also the other voice clip, which is You're Safe, and that's the voice clip that plays whenever you kick an ugly secret baby, which is also pretty funny. There's a lot more voice clips out there. If you want to go search for them, you definitely can. I just have been unable to find them. I've been looking for them. I don't see any rips of them online. That's why I had to pull them out of my own videos and kind of play the audio with music in the background, which kind of sucks, but what are you going to do with a game that isn't really talked about? People don't really do a lot of stuff for this game, I'm going to be honest. And this kind of leads into my next point. There are quite a few names, official terminologies rather, that I just didn't talk about and or forgot about or didn't know about until this specific recording. So some official terminology that I didn't talk about before was the actual names of the Hooligan Sisters. I didn't know these existed. I knew there were a lot of fan Hooligan Sister names out there. I was not aware that they actually gave them real official names. Now, they could be fan-made names, I'm not quite sure. I got this off of a site that actually took the information from an iOS game / Steam game called Mighty Switch Force Hose It Down, which is, I don't want to say a sequel to this game. I don't want to say a successor either. It's significantly different. The concepts are kind of the same, but they're put into a very different scenario. I'll put some gameplay of it on screen right now because it is kind of interesting, but I've never played it personally. The information that I got of the names of the Hooligan Sisters, it was from a site that was talking about this game. It wasn't talking about Mighty Switch Force 2, it was talking about Mighty Switch Force Hose It Down, an iOS game. I don't know, I found it to be really funny that a mainline Mighty Switch Force title got... it just got ignored. But you're gonna take the iOS game, which is... I don't want to say bad, it definitely looks good. It's not Mighty Switch Force. It really isn't. It's not the main concept that's used for Mighty Switch Force. There's no platforming, it's just strictly puzzle. And I don't know why there's more information about that game than there is about Mighty Switch Force 2. It's weird. That's all I wanted to say. More importantly, though, I actually do know what the planet we are on is called. It's called Plantland, which is kind of funny considering the fact that it's currently on fire. Plantland is probably not the best place for a fire to break out. I can kind of see why it spread so quickly. Also, the hose we have isn't just called a hose. It's called the Infinity Dowsing Apparatus, which kind of makes sense. I thought there was just a lot of water packed in that backpack that Patricia Wagons has. But, no, it's just an infinity dowsing apparatus that somehow has an infinite amount of water. Pretty cool stuff. There's also something else, which this official terminology and the information that comes with it on the Wikipedia page for this game actually is pretty interesting, because it does kind of give a little bit of context to a mechanic that we've been seeing for a long time now. That's terminology being the Rapid Sparkle Transmission System, which may sound like nothing we've ever heard about until this point, but that's actually how we take the Hooligan Sisters and we move them to a safe area. That's how we shove them into our back pocket, if you will. There we go, that's better. Anyway, that's how we shove them into our back pocket, if you will. And this was made for adults. It was never made for children. So it's kind of interesting to note that the reason we are kicking these babies into a quote-unquote safe area is because we cannot put them in our infinity dowsing... I almost said infinity dowsing apparatus. Yeah, shove them into the hose. No. This is why we can't put them into our Rapid Sparkle Transmission System. It just wasn't built for it. That's still kind of dumb, but I think it's a funny way of dealing with this this kind of conflicting stuff going on right here, where you can just put an adult into your back pocket, but not a baby. There's also, obviously, the Ugly Secret Baby. Obviously, I already showed off the Hooligan Sisters, rather. But there's another character that we've been seeing since the dawn of time, and he had an official name? I wasn't aware of it. The robot that takes us to the end of the level, that takes us away from the level once we complete it, is actually called Corporal Gendarmer? I don't know. I really don't know how to say his name. I've never been able to say it. I knew this existed at one point, but when I started doing research for the series, I just completely forgot about it, and it never really mentioned his name in anything that I saw, unless I somehow skipped over it. And I just found it to be really interesting that I forgot a really important character, actually. I just forgot his name. So, that's pretty cool. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to get some of these smaller details out of the way before we moved on to the next and final episode. There's still more stuff to be shown off, and it'll be shown off next episode. But, as I just said, that's for next time. Until then.